There are irreversible mental, physical, and emotional changes.
There are. I am much happier than I was before, and I'm pretty sure that's irreversible. There have been many irreversible physical changes that have happened to me, my voice, my beard, and that's what's right for me.
Not at the gate. They're not at the gate. They're well inside.
Good evening and welcome to Mr. Matters. I hope you're all surviving out there in clown world.
All white people are racist.
So today I'm going to talk about Jamie Rains. He's a trans YouTuber, goes under the YouTube handle Jammy Dodger. And this video he is reacting to a detransitioner video on TikTok. And I just want to address some of the points because I think he obscures some truth and is generally not very charitable to this person. So let's get into it and see what he has to say.
It was someone who I believe is a detransitioner who made a video on TikTok, and they were just spreading a lot of misinformation about the transition process and being trans.
Right off the bat, it's strange that he would use this line and also title the video "The Dangerous Misinformation About Transitioning" when Jamie himself spreads misinformation and lies, whether knowingly or not, about transitioning and transgender issues, like this little nugget.
Being a trans woman is just a different way of being a woman. It is a particular type of woman, just like a blonde woman, a short woman. Trans women are women at the end of the day.
Nope. At the end of the day, they're biological men. They're male. They're not women. It's not like a description of blonde woman. It literally means you are the opposite sex. You can live as a trans woman, obviously fill your boots, you're a free person, do what you want. But this lie, and it is a lie, and a fundamental lie that is unbelievably dangerous, and it's the reason we're in the situation we're in currently. Scientifically, factually, trans women are men.
For a good chunk of my life, I was just a woman. I'm now a cis woman.
Cis has existed. Both are very old prefixes, and cis simply means on the same side of. It just means that your gender is the same as your assigned birth sex.
It seems to be a pattern in the trans activist movement to pretend that everyone has been and does use all these new buzzwords, only found in this woke movement. Nobody uses these words. Cis is not used. It's men and women. I mean, the first time this word was written in an article was in Germany in 1914. It wasn't seen in England until 1994, and it was only added to the Oxford Dictionary in 2015. It's a brand spanking new word. And the third thing I want to point out, you're not assigned at birth. The doctor observes your sex and documents it. There's no assigning of any sort.
I really do feel for them because they seem to have had a very negative experience, but what I wanted to call out is the fear-mongering and the misinformation they were spreading, and also the fact that just because a minority regret and this one person had a negative experience does not mean that it's appropriate for them to go online and say that this is going to happen to everybody, or that this is something that happens to a majority of people, and try and just basically scare people about the medically transitioning process.
There's a constant theme through Jamie's video where this detransitioner talking about their harrowing, horrendous, life-changing, negative experience is somehow projecting on all trans people transitioning, which this person never does. And in contrast, Jamie, through the entire video, only projects a positive side of his transition. He's happy, everything's going great. You're doing the same thing. Does that mean it's going great for everyone? Of course not. Does it mean it's going bad for everyone? Of course not. But when things are going good, we don't need to worry. When things are going terrible and we're just leaving people by the roadside that have chopped limbs off and medicalized themselves and have a whole litany of mental problems that weren't addressed before put on the conveyor belt to transitioning, that matters so much more. And the fact that you see it as dangerous and a smear on your community is just inhuman in a way. These people are inconvenient for you, so they should shut up. Ignore any of the bad medical practices that are going on, detransition stories, how young these people are and they can't consent. Ignore all the bad stuff because I had a happy experience. Well, no, because the bad stuff matters way more than your happy experience. You're happy, brilliant, but we are doing a disservice to a whole group of people that you just ignore and belittle and make into an enemy because you see them as inconvenient. I find that gross and disingenuous to pretend this person is saying all trans people are terrible, don't transition. No, it's called warning of the potential consequences. Someone's online and they're only seeing trans is amazing, healthcare, life affirming, they're going to kill themselves if they don't transition. It's good to get the other side of the coin. We don't care if people are happy after transition. Good. We care about the people whose lives are forever destroyed by transitioning. That matters way more. And yeah, we should speak to those people way more than we are. And you should care about these people way more than you do, because it doesn't belittle you being trans. You just look like a more caring, inclusive person if you give a shit about them.
So let's roll the reaction to the transphobic TikTok.
Oh, Jamie, straight in with it. You care so much about this person that before you even show them, you say, let's get into this transphobic TikTok. So she's a transphobe. We've already established she's a bigot, and we definitely know how the trans activists react to bigots. They beat the shit out of them. They try and get them fired, and they harass and hound them out of public life. So well done, Jamie. Real caring and nice of you to smear this lady before you've even presented her on screen. Could have said, this person is misinformed, this person is angry, this person is ignorant of all the facts, but no, straight to bigot. Just low blow.
This is a letter to young transitioners. If you are about to transition, especially if you are underage, please listen to this. First of all, you cannot change your sex. Take it from someone who has tried. You cannot. There is no such thing as trans periods. Trans women do not experience any of those symptoms. You won't grow a dick when you start T. You won't grow mammary glands or ovaries or a uterus on estrogen.
I'm pretty sure all mammals have mammary glands. When you start hormones, you are talked through all of the pros, cons, all of the changes that can and can't happen.
So really interesting that this detransitioner lists a whole scope of things that people believe will happen before they start hormone treatment. I've seen many videos, people claiming they have periods, that they're going to grow ovaries. All this stuff is clearly false and untrue, which this detransitioner lays out. And let's just focus on the fact that clearly this detransitioner made this video because they wanted to warn people of the potential dangers and to debunk some of the myths surrounding hormones, so they go into it fully aware what will and won't happen. It's a caring video. She clearly cares for people that are transitioning. Obviously, Jamie thinks this person's a transphobe, but clearly the video has started off with the intentions of being caring. Now, Jamie picks a real weak argument through the list. He's not going to address that trans women don't get periods, as a new trend has been showing influencers online pretending that they do. Psychotic. He goes for the mammary gland thing. Yes, okay. All mammals have them. Clearly, we're looking at people who are biologically male who want to become a woman and going to be a trans woman. So clearly they want all the traits of women, but they can't. So that's what she's laying out here. You don't have a uterus, you don't have periods, you can't breastfeed, you can't change sex.
You'll have to be on hormone replacement therapy for the rest of your life, no matter how this goes, whether you remain transitioned or not, to stay on your path.
Huh? That doesn't make sense. I mean, if you remove things like ovaries and testicles, you will have to take some kind of HRT. But if you don't, then you can come off the hormone replacement therapy and another hormone will be present. As long as you have a hormone, estrogen or testosterone, present in your system, then you don't need to stay on HRT.
This is where it gets a little bit dark for me because we're obscuring the realities of what people face when they go on hormones, get off hormones, and the impact long term of these hormones. Because hormones are massively powerful chemicals that really alter a person massively. So to just go on them and go off them, it's not like changing your t-shirt. This is like big life-changing developments. So if you've had bottom surgery and you've been taking estrogen and then you detransition, to just simply go back on testosterone because you're not producing it yourself, you have to take it, it's not just like some easy thing, oh now I'm a man again, I can just live life as a man. I mean, if you've chopped off your penis and you take testosterone, your sex drive goes through the roof because you're pumping testosterone into your body, but there's nothing you can do about it. There's a detransitioner that has this exact problem and has not gone on testosterone for this reason, because it's a nightmare. It's like tormenting them. It's terrible for their mental health because they feel all these male urges. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's super fucked up. And if you go off hormones and you still have all your body parts, you're still adding chemicals to your body, withdrawing them, taking them, putting them back in, going back off them, on them. All this changing of these hormones has a huge effect on mental health, on physical health. So to just pretend that changing hormones is just no big deal is beyond misinformation and beyond dangerous. This is fundamentally changing who you are, how your body reacts, your mood, your internal chemistry. It's a big fucking deal.
The side effects are severe.
What
I feel like only detransitioners really talk about the harmful and irreversible effects of cross-sex hormones.
The doctors do a pretty good job of talking you through the irreversible effects. I'm curious about what they're going to describe as like the harmful and dangerous effects.
I really dislike Jamie's dismissive tone here. It's pretty disgusting. It's trying to minimize the dangers of medicalizing people and people going under surgery. I mean, any surgery, trans surgery or not, is an incredibly dangerous procedure, anesthetic. People have died on the operating table for minor and major surgery. It's really not anything to be taken lightly. And the fact that doctors talk through the dangers, I'm not convinced every doctor talks through all the dangers. I've seen examples of doctors not doing this. And also, Jamie is based in the UK. He has little to no knowledge of what this detransitioner in the States went through when transitioning. He has no idea of the doctors that she used, what they said to her, what they didn't say to her, if they treated her own medical issues, mental medical issues before transitioning. He has no concept of what this person's gone through and is projecting his experience. I mean, when you look at people like Book Angel, he had to go through a massively long process because no one had really done it at that time, and it was a long drawn out year-on-year process to make sure it was the correct action for him. Blair White didn't have that. She went into the doctor's office and got estrogen and left. I think it was an hour. So it's not all the same. It's not all the high quality safeguarding there should be. There's multiple examples. Just speak to any detransitioner and see if you think if the medical establishment it really has the best interest at heart, or they just want another paycheck and don't really give a fuck who the person on the operating table is or the person they're prescribing the hormones to are. I mean, I'm not trying to smear all doctors, but there's clearly a huge hole where the doctors are not safeguarding children. And if the doctors did a really good job of making sure everyone was fully aware of the long-term implications, why would there be so many detransitioners talking about how they weren't informed of X and Y and didn't know that this would happen and thought they'd grow breasts and thought this would happen? If it's so perfectly safeguarding people, why are people so ignorant when they come out on the other end? And why is there so many goddamn TikTok videos of deluded people who have spoken to doctors pretending they can get periods? And there are trans people who talk about this, the psychological effects, how damaging it can be, and how even when speaking to doctors, they weren't fully prepared for what was going to happen to them mentally, physically, and emotionally.
And today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the psychological and emotional effects of HRT, because Let me tell you, I was not prepared for these things to happen. I mean, I knew some facts beforehand, like from my doctor, and I also watched a few videos and documentaries about transitioning, you know, HRT and all of that. However, when I experienced for the first time, I was not prepared for the changes to occur.
See, it's not hard to be honest and open about the things that are bad about transitioning and how it can be detrimental to mental health, to physical health, to emotional health, and it's okay, and it doesn't belittle anything. Talk about the bad side as well as the good side, and let's not obscure the truth by pretending everything is just a bunch of roses, and anyone who speaks bad about transition is somehow trying to undermine the trans movement and is a transphobe.
But the side effects affect trans people who don't detransition as well. There are irreversible mental, physical, and emotional changes.
There are. I am much happier than I was before, and I'm pretty sure that's irreversible. There have been many irreversible physical changes that have happened to me, my voice, my beard, and that's what's right for me. And many studies show that this is the treatment for trans people. This improves well-being, reduces anxiety, reduces depression, makes trans people happier. This is what is right for trans people to do if medically transitioning is something they want and need to pursue. Not every trans person does, but for those where it's right for them, this is going to have a positive impact on their life.
It really pisses me off he chose a beard and voice changing as the two things to highlight, when clearly there are crazy amounts of medical implications to taking hormones. Yes, if you grow a beard and your voice gets deeper and you decide to transition back to a woman, that's gonna fucking suck. You're gonna have a beard and you're gonna sound like a man. That's not anything to just brush off. That sucks. But sidelines all the massive implications. Here's a list of some of the potential dangers: blood clots, heart problems, high level of potassium in the blood, high level of hormone prolactin in the blood, nipple discharge, weight gain, infertility, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, stroke. I think if you get heart problems, have a stroke, get a blood clot, there's no reversing that. That's fully damage done to the body, irreversible. To pretend there's no medical implications and that growing a beard and your voice changing is the craziest thing that may happen is bullshit, and so dangerous to present it as this, like, I'm happy and that's irreversible. Like, come on, man. Like, surely you are smarter than that, and surely you need to show more respect to people and your own fans to present an honest argument to the health implications of any of this medical treatment. And to say in the same sentence that it's life-affirming, life-saving medical treatment for trans people, and then not all trans people choose to have medical transition, well, which is it? I mean, if it's going to lead to ultimate happiness and it's the way of trans people not killing themselves, then why wouldn't all of them do it? Maybe it's a case-by-case basis, maybe not everyone needs to transition, and if that's the case, let's be honest about what happens when you transition, or the possibilities of what could happen when you transition. What's wrong with that? Information. It's always better to have more information. Let's make sure everyone is fully aware of the long-term implications, and I'm talking about adults here. Kids cannot comprehend the long-term implications of anything. It's just not possible. For adults, let's just make sure they're fully on board with everything that could potentially happen. And Jamie here presents it like the consensus of all the medical establishment, and everything is all in full agreement that transitioning is the best healthcare for trans people to live happy lives. If that's the case, then why was there a study in Sweden published in the National Library of Medicine claiming that the mortality rate, suicidal thoughts, and suicide are considerably higher than the general population? The conclusion they came to, quote, persons with transsexualism after sex reassignment have considerably higher risk for morbidity, suicidal behavior, and psychiatric morbidity than the general population. Our findings suggest that sex reassignment, although alleviating gender dysphoria, may not suffice as treatment for transsexualism and should inspire improved psychiatric care for sex reassignment for this patient group. So it's not a silver bullet to fix every problem a trans person has. I'm sure we're all aware that trans people people seem to have a higher proclivity to autism, ADHD, mental issues, and most of these are not addressed before transitioning, which is crazy. And to present transitioning as this just great, happy, lovely experience for people is not the full picture. And though that case should be made so people can alleviate their gender dysmorphia as adults, not children, but let's not trample on people pointing out that there are life-changing implications to these things, and even if you want to transition, you may have problems in the future, or it may not live up to your expectations, and you may be just as depressed as you were previously because the other mental issues that you're dealing with are not being addressed, because everyone's presenting transition as a silver bullet to fix every problem in these people's lives.
Another severe side effect is infertility. I didn't care about this until it was too late. I was swindled by the idea that it didn't matter or that I could freeze my eggs, a mere $150,000. And now I might not be able to have my own children, severely limiting my dating pool and my future altogether.
They sound like very robotic in their reading. You are warned a lot before starting hormones that it can cause infertility. It is not guaranteed, and it's also something that was pushed a lot more 10 years ago when I first started, that it was like, you will likely become infertile. If you want to have biological children, we recommend you freezing egg/sperm before you start hormone therapy.
I love how he's saying this, like this isn't a complete and utter dismantling of the whole agenda he espouses. The fact that it's said, and then this person says they can't comprehend it in the future of not being able to have children, is just confirming that younger people, kids, children, people under 18, and probably 19, 20, up until your brain is development, cannot make huge life-changing decisions that affect their lives. Whether you give them the information or not, they've got no concept of the long-term implications. I didn't want to have kids up until very recently, and now I have kids, and it's the greatest decision I've ever made in my life. Okay, people change their minds. Adults change their minds. Kids change their minds constantly, and they cannot fathom the implications of what they are doing now and how that'll affect them when they're 25, 26, 30, 50, 80. Doesn't matter. So to nonchalantly dismiss being infertile, as Jamie does here, is gross to me. I mean, people, the general public, have problems with infertility. It's increasing. Lots of my friends have had problems or taken a long time to conceive. So to add hormones into the mix that will undoubtedly make you infertile if you take it for long periods of time, is not a reversible thing. Okay, say the percentages are lower than we previously thought. I don't care if it's 0.1%. Any person, any kid being given any medical treatment that could affect their fertility in the future when they can't comprehend that now is disgusting and should not happen. And if we're sending people on the conveyor belt of transitioning, surgery is at the end of that conveyor belt. So any kid who goes on hormones affects their fertility, and then if they have a hysterectomy, there ain't no going back. This whole thing is centered around not being able to have kids in the future, and how people can't understand that at such a young age.
The misinformation in such a short video that's been put just out on TikTok, and if people are watching this for the first time, knowing nothing about what hormones actually do and how hormones can positively change trans people's lives, and also the very minimal detransition rate, and then even within the detransition rate, the least common reason for detransitioning is regret. And the most common reason is lack of social support and just not being able to cope with being a trans person in society that is so incredibly transphobic.
What gets me is they constantly say this is a minority of the movement. Detransitioners are not a big portion of the population. Yeah, trans aren't a big portion of the population. If this is your argument and you say it's a minority of our community that regrets it and has these problems, then surely you're giving a green light for us to just dismiss you and say, well, you're a minority in our society, so fuck off. I mean, you won't have a leg to stand on. If you don't care for your minorities, why should we care about ours? The fact that there's any detransitioners shows that the safeguarding isn't there. And this whole thing of trans people detransitioning because of external pressures, I know there's a study that claims this. I don't know how true that is, because society now fawns over trans people. They want to always act like they're the most attacked, oppressed trans genocide. Check out the video, that's a lie. So I'm not sure that's true. But let's concede it to him that it is true, and external pressures are the major reasons people detransition. I only care about the people forced into medicalizing themselves when they have mental problems that are not being addressed, and then they alter their lives forever. Irreversible damage. I don't know why the trans community doesn't want to help these people. I don't know why they see it as an attack. I don't know why they see it as misinformation when someone is just laying out what happened to them and the potential side effects that could happen to other people. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, to even call that transphobic boggles the mind. And we're on the cusp of the detransitioner movement exploding, because all the information from the Tavistock Clinic and multiple places around the world, and how America is just literally gun-ho into this gender ideology movement, there's going to be a tidal wave of detransitioners coming up, because it's quite clear that gay kids and lesbian kids are being told they're transgender when they're not, and are detransitioning at a faster and faster rate. And the trans community could embrace this and say, hang on, something's going wrong here, we need to make sure we've got the safeguarding here, and trans people who want to transition have the means to, but we're also not pushing people who have mental conditions and are just gay and lesbians into transitioning. This would help with the image of the trans community, and it would help with seeing that they're actually serious about getting the care where the care is needed, and not just mutilating and sterilizing kids just for shits and giggles. Like, we need to get a bit serious about this. And you should be embracing the detransitioners and helping them, and it will help your movement, because people will see that you're actually a caring community and that you won't just crush anyone that happens to not even attack your movement, but you perceive as attacking your movement. Being honest about the implications of hormone treatments and surgery is only ever a good thing, and only sheds more light on the damage that could potentially be done to people who aren't trans and can't weigh up the options of what is best for them, best for their mental health. The fact that Jamie chooses to obscure that and attack people who do highlight that speaks volumes, and I hope he changes his mind and embraces these people and tries to actually care for people being damaged by the system. That's all I've got for you today. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay free.
What does English mean?
I don't have to suffer.